were waiting to be matched with our kids when we were adopting them from foster care, I remember so vividly wishing, hoping, and praying that we would be able to have our children move into our home before the holidays. Because the holidays are special, and I think as a parent, you kind of envision yourself sharing these special traditions with your kids and buying them presents, and it just being this happy, wonderful family, great little time. Oh, young Katie. So naive, so innocent. I had no clue how difficult the holidays can be for adoptive and foster children, but now I do. And so I want to help you whether you have kids in your home now or you are dreaming like I was of having kids in your home this holiday season. I want to prepare you for what to expect and also some little tips you can do to make it easier on yourself and on your kids. So let's jump into this festive little time. Happy almost Thanksgiving if you're watching this when it comes out. I very intentionally am releasing this a week before Thanksgiving in case you need some time to put these things into practice, and hopefully you will be super ready by the time Christmas comes. By the way, if we have never met before, my name is Katie and I'm an adoption consultant, and I work specifically with families who are hoping to adopt waiting children from foster care, which is what my husband Nick and I did when we adopted our 3 awesome kids. So here on my channel, I provide all sorts of information, tips, education on being an adoptive parent and what that looks like and how we can do it well. Today is all about holidays. So let's first jump into what are the things you should be aware of when it comes to foster or adopted kids on the holidays. And I think one of the most important things to know is that you need to understand the difference between your expectations of the holiday and the reality that your kids are facing. On holidays, we expect our kids to be excited, happy, want to go see family, want to go hang out with people, want to receive presents, want to participate in traditions, because maybe when you were a kid, you loved Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of these holidays. I know when I was a kid, I absolutely loved even Thanksgiving. I would make my cousin dress up as a turkey, and I would dress up as like a pilgrim, and I would sing songs, and it was a great time. But you have to realize that for a lot of kids who are adopted from foster care and have lived with different families over the course of their lives, they are probably not going to be as excited about the holidays as maybe you would think they would. A lot of kids are happy when the holidays are coming, but you might find that your children are not happy. Maybe they are angry. Maybe they are sad. They may do things like acting out. They may isolate themselves or start disassociating, or they may appear really happy and be super hyper and over the top from what they typically are. So it's really important as an adoptive or foster parent to prepare yourself to lower your expectations so that you can meet your kid where they are. So now let's jump into why are holidays so difficult for foster and adopted kids? And then at the end, I'm going to share with you some really awesome tips for how to help your child and you have the best holiday ever together. Reason number 1 why holidays are so hard is because of all the memories associated. One reason I love the holidays is because of all the positive memories I have associated with it. But you have to realize that for a child who has been adopted from foster care, those holidays hold memories with lots of different people potentially. They hold memories of their bio family. They might hold memories of holidays with their foster parents or maybe multiple foster parents. And some of these memories are not so great, and some of them are good. But here's the thing, even those good memories are hard to grapple with because you're no longer with those people that you had those good memories with. And in some cases, there may be no contact with those people anymore, or you may feel like you were abandoned by them. And if they're bad memories, well, then that can be really triggering at the holidays. And that goes into my second reason why it's so hard is for a lot of adopted children or children in foster care, holidays serve as kind of milestones for how long they've been in foster care, how long they've been adopted, how long since they've seen XYZ family member. And so it can be a really painful reminder at times of what they have been through. It can be a painful reminder of how many Christmases it's been since they were with their bio parents. And especially, it's really important to know, like if your kid was placed in a new home or removed from their home around the holidays, that can be especially a triggering time because it marks that milestone of how long they've been in foster care, how long they've been separated from their bio families. A third reason why holidays can be so hard is just because every family has different traditions. And I think a lot of us hold on to those traditions really strongly. So for example, on my side of the family, Our tradition is that we open all the gifts from grandparents and from aunts and uncles or whatever on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas morning is for gifts that are just from our parents or Santa. And I'll tell you that when I got married, it was difficult adjusting to my husband's family's way of doing things. They open every single present on Christmas morning, which was really difficult for my kids to adjust to be perfectly honest. But it was also hard for me because I'm like, well, that's not the tradition. Like, we always looked forward to doing it on Christmas Eve. And it's hard to let go of those traditions as adults. And for kids, that can be really difficult. I think when there's a certain way that you think on Christmas, we do this. And if your new adoptive family or your new foster family doesn't do that same thing, that can be frustrating that you're not getting to participate in that tradition. And I think it can also make the child feel more disconnected from their birth family because every family does Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of those things a little bit differently. And it can be hard when you feel like you're kind of thrown in to someone else's tradition and you have no clue what it is and it has no significance to you at this point. So just something to be aware of. Your kids might be missing their old traditions. Another reason why holidays are so hard for kids who have been through traumatic situations is it is overwhelming. I don't know about you, but I get overwhelmed sometimes at big holiday events where there's lots of people talking and there's just a lot of noise and music and foods and smells. It can be a little bit overstimulating. And there's gifts everywhere and sometimes you're opening a bunch of presents, and which is a good thing, but can also feel overwhelming. And so for our kids who have been through trauma, this can be a lot of sensory input at a time that they're already feeling just heightened stress, heightened sadness, all of those things. It can just be a lot to handle. And so you might find that your child wants to pull away into another room and isolate a little bit, simply because with all the other stuff they're going through, it's just a lot to be around that. And the last reason that the holidays are hard kind of ties in with that one, but there's this expectation on holidays to be happy, to be sociable, to participate, all of those things. And your kids are feeling that pressure. There's a pressure to be happy and sociable, but what if they're not? What if they're feeling sad? They're missing their traditions. They're missing their bio family. They're missing even previous foster homes, or they're remembering really tough things that happened on the holidays. That's a lot to ask of anyone, let alone a child. After all of that dreaming that I did about what our first Christmas would look like when all of our kids were with us, I will tell you that the first Christmas they were with us was one of the hardest stretches of days I've ever been through. It was just so emotional. I mean that more emotionally, and we had other stuff going on in extended family as well, like some illnesses and things. But there was just a lot going on there under the surface, and I felt like I was like the emotional sponge for all my kids, and it was hard. There were tears shed, there were panicky moments, there were all sorts of things. So it was not what I imagined it would be. Now I can tell you that now, years down the road, we've grown and we've applied some of the tips I'm about to share, and things have gotten way better. But these are the things I wish I had been really aware of our first time through going through the holidays with our kids. So I'm hoping you can avoid the mistakes that I made by just knowing ahead of time what to expect. Okay, so I have 5 tips that should be pretty quick that will help you survive, and not just survive, but thrive in the holidays with your kids who have been adopted from foster care. So number 1 is to do front loading. I've talked about front loading before, but what that means is you are going to prep your kids for what to expect. When we have kids who've come from hard situations, there's a lot of chaos and unpredictability in their lives. And so what they like to have is predictability and structure and just knowing what's going to happen next. And especially if you're going to be going to someone else's house for the holidays, or if you're going to be traveling, staying somewhere else, you want to make sure you're giving them as much information as possible before you go. If you have pictures of that person's house, show them. Say, oh, this is the room where we open presents. This is the room where we eat together. If you have pictures that you can show them of the family members that are going to be there, maybe extended family they haven't met before, or maybe people they have met before, but they're still kind of getting to know. Tell them a little bit about those people. You can also tell them some of the fun traditions you usually do and how you're excited to have them be a part of it if that's something they want to try out. Tell them the types of foods that are going to be there, and even better, ask them if there are any foods that they would like included. But front loading is so key. It's like where they say that prevention is better than intervention. So you don't want to wait for some blow up to happen or wait for some panicky moment, you want to prepare ahead of time to prevent some of those things from happening. The second one I think is so important, and this is allowing your children to hold both emotions at once. Maybe 10 emotions at once, but allowing them to hold positive emotions about the holidays together with those negative ones. Not expecting them to just be happy the whole time will go a long way. I think it's so important to acknowledge the grief your child might be feeling and to vocalize that to them, to say, I'm sure the holidays are a little hard. Are there people you're missing? Could you tell me a great memory you have or anything like that from holidays when you were younger? Just that curiosity and wanting to talk to them, especially if they're seeming sad and they're seeming like maybe they want you to come ask them some questions. That is a great thing to do, and not shaming them for being sad, not saying, hey, you're not doing enough with the rest of the family. Why are you so bummed out? Why are you whatever? Like meeting them where they are, allowing them to be sad or angry or whatever it is, because they're processing a lot. They're kids, they don't have the same way of processing emotions as we do. And along with that, if you have a kid who's struggling, whether they're angry or sad or upset in some way, if you're going to allow them to feel those things, that means you can't expect them to come and be sociable the entire time and talk to all the relatives they don't know. So there's an important balance here, because I hesitate to tell you to just let them go in another room and do their own thing the whole day, because I think while that may sound good to them in the moment, they will be upset about that later and sad that maybe they'll feel left out or not wanted, or that they're just going to go into disassociation mode and never really confront the stuff they're going through. So what I recommend, and this is what I've done with my kids, is I give them space, but I also invite them in. So I'll give them times where I'm like, hey, I understand this day might be a little bit emotional for you. I'm here to talk. Or, you can set aside this time right now if you just want to go watch a show or read a book or just spend some time on your own. That's totally fine. But we really would love it if you join us for the meal, because we really want to spend time with you. And I think that's important, is we don't want to go too far in either direction. We don't want to force them to be there the whole time. If they're struggling, that's going to end up with like a blow up or something like that. But we also don't want to just allow them to completely disassociate, because that's not good for them either. And I think, like I said, it can kind of make them feel like, oh, well, maybe they don't really want me here anyway. And that's not the message we want to send. So if you can find that balance, and I think as the parent, you will have that intuition of what's the right balance, but just making sure you're like, okay, I'm giving you space, but we also really want you to be a part of this. And just a little bonus tip here, part of inviting them in is inviting in some of their traditions. I think it's so important to create traditions together as a family and to invite them into your traditions that your extended family has. But it's such a great idea as well to invite maybe one or two of their favorite holiday traditions and incorporate that into your own family. After all, you're merging families together here. It's not like your extended family it matters more than their past and their extended family. And so how can you merge those two together to create some traditions that will just remind them of the good times that they had with their biological family or with other foster homes, things that they associate with Christmas or with Thanksgiving. Number 4 is near and dear to my heart, which is that less is more. And this goes for a couple things. Number 1 is scale back your expectations. Scale back your expectations of how your kids are going to react to things that you might be really excited about and you want them to be really excited about. You also, please, if you hear anything, scale back the presents, because it can be so overwhelming to a kid if they're like brand new to the family and they're getting all these gifts and there's this expectation on them to say thank you and be super grateful for every single one. We need to just lower the pressure on them, give them gifts, make them feel loved, but don't give them so many gifts that it's overwhelming, because that can actually backfire. I know that in our minds, sometimes it's like, well, I want to show my kid I love them, so I'm going to get them everything they've ever dreamed of. That's not really what they need. What they need is love and attention and time from you, not for you to go into credit card debt buying them every single toy on the planet. And the truth is, kids get really overwhelmed by having too many toys anyway, which is a whole other topic that I'm passionate about. But you don't want to overwhelm them on the holidays with too many gifts. And this can be, kind of difficult with extended family, but it's definitely worth at least doing within your immediate family. And you also might need to scale back on some things like some of the Christmas events you do. Maybe you're someone who loves to go watch A Christmas Carol or the Nutcracker, or you like to go to a Christmas festival in town or a craft show or whatever. You may just need to scale it back so that your kids aren't so overwhelmed and being faced with all these emotions with the holidays over and over and over again. And my final tip is that you're going to want to prepare your extended family or friends who you're celebrating with to let them know that your child might struggle with this holiday. And obviously everyone's family is different. Some families might respond to this really well and be like, oh, totally, we respect that. And there might be other people who are like, they need to get over it. And so I understand not everyone may get support from their family in this, but I do think it's worth bringing up and just telling them, hey, just so you know, holidays can be really hard for foster and adoptive kids. Like even if they get toys they want or whatever, they might not seem excited, they might not seem happy, and here's why. But yeah, show them this video if you want, just so that they can get an idea for the reasons why. And it doesn't have to come from you necessarily, but someone who's been there, who has adopted kids and has walked through really difficult holidays with them and really great holidays with them. You might have family members you'll just have to set some boundaries with and say, hey, I know you might prefer if my kid was up here all the time talking to everyone, but I am going to give them space at these times, and we just have to roll with that. Hopefully you don't have to worry about that and everyone's really supportive, but it's always good to consider just in case. Well, there you have it. Everything you need to know to survive and thrive in the holidays with your foster adopted kids. If you're a foster adopted parent and you have other tips that you want to include in the comments below, I would love to hear them, just in case there's things I missed. I know we all have different experiences, so read the comments, see if there's any other ones. And also, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, that means you're my very, very favorite. So thank you. I appreciate you very much. So I haven't done this in a little while, but I like to do a little secret thing in the comments if you make it all the way to the end. So this time, I want you to pick your favorite fall themed emoji. So I don't know if it's like a turkey or leaves or pie or something like that. Pick your favorite fall themed emoji, since I've got my fall background here and my fallish color. Then I'll know who my YouTube besties are who make it all the way to the end. Just so you know, there will not be a video over Thanksgiving. I don't think anybody's going to be watching me on Thanksgiving when they're with their families. You shouldn't anyway. So I'll be taking 1 week off, and then I will be back with a new video, which will actually be a family Thanksgiving vlog type of video. So I'll meet you back here the week after Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful holiday with your families, and I will see you soon.